I don't believe this video showing up on your feed today is a coincidence, because I don't believe in coincidences, and there are no coincidences with God. So I want to share a story of something that happened to me around 5 years ago. Me and my dad are both into woodworking and carving, and whenever we get new tools, it's quite exciting to try them out. So he came in to me and said, I've got a chainsaw attachment for the angle grinder. It's really good. I've just tried it. You should give it a go. So I went into the shed. I saw the bit of wood he was working on just to test it, and I picked the tool up to try it out. And within 5 seconds of starting this tool up, I touched it on the piece of wood. It had bounced back and hit me in the hand, and instantly I had very severe chainsaw injury to my hand. So I went inside, washed it under the tap to like wash any wood and stuff out of it, and then went up A&E and had it. I was there all night, and then the next morning I was in for surgery, and it was quite a serious operation. So on the surface that looks like a very negative thing, and the year prior I'd just built up a window cleaning business, so I now couldn't work. So I'd built this business up that relied on me, and I couldn't work. So in theory, terrible. But in hindsight and in reality, that experience came to be one of the most beautiful and transformative experiences of my life, because I was quite depressed at that time. And seeing the love that these caregivers gave to me. So like, for example, the doctor came in and said, I need you to sign this form. During the operation, we might have to remove the finger or your left hand. Do you sign that over? And honestly, I know it sounds funny, but I didn't really care. I was like, yeah, do whatever. But he cared about my hand more than I did. And then the same went for the nurses and the people removing the stitches. They really cared about me. And even the people offering physio, they were like, did you do your physio? And I wasn't doing it, because they cared about my well-being more than I did. So that was beautiful, that I could see the compassion and love from other people. Also, during that time, I knew I couldn't work. So I jumped in my little window cleaning van and I drove to Scotland and lived in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery called Samye Ling for a week and learnt meditation. And it was absolutely beautiful. And while I was there, there were a number of synchronicities. So I was sharing a room with 3 other people, and one of the men was from the Isle of Man, and I visit the Isle of Man quite regularly. And another guy had one of his fingers, he'd literally cut one of his fingers off with a saw. So it's a very similar injury. I was there because I had a chainsaw injury, and this guy turns up with one thing, like a finger missing. And I just think, when was the last time you met somebody with a finger missing? So it's quite interesting. And also, just over the road from this monastery, there was a hill that was like Fairy Hill. And when I go to the Isle of Man, there's a ferry bridge. So just minor connections, but it seemed like I was meant to be there. And had I not had the chainsaw injury, I wouldn't have been there. So you don't know how a bad thing could turn out good. And in this story, I'm kind of reminded of a Taoist parable that I heard. And it's the story of the farmer and his son. So there's a farmer working his land, and his horse runs off. So now he can't do his work because his horse is gone. And all of the villagers come round and say, oh, that's terrible, that's really bad, your horse has run away. And he just goes, maybe. Then the horse comes back a week later, and it's brought with it 3 other wild horses have like followed it. So all of the farmers, all of the villagers are like, oh, that's amazing, you've got these 3 extra horses for free, you can work even harder. That's brilliant. And he says, maybe. Then his son is trying to train one of these wild horses, falls off and breaks his leg. And then the villagers come round and say, oh, that's terrible, he can't work and he's broke his leg. That's bad. And the farmer goes, maybe. Then the conscription officer comes round, because there's a civil war's broke out, to take his son away to fight in the war. And he can't go because he's got a broken leg and he's not capable. And all the villagers go, oh, you're so lucky, because my son has to go and he could die in this war. You're very lucky. And the farmer goes, maybe. And I just thought that was a beautiful story. You might have heard it before. because you don't know how a good thing, how a bad thing could turn out good. You're not God. You can't predict the future. And you might set your heart on this thing you want, this really positive thing, and it could turn out terrible. You could win the lottery and it'd be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Or you could cut your hand with a chainsaw and it'd be the best thing that's ever happened to you. So when I think back about this story and kind of ponder on it, I'm reminded of a verse from Revelation, which is, "I've placed before you an open door that no one can shut." And it's interesting because even you can't shut it. So you might make decisions that you think, oh, that was a terrible decision, but it turned out to be really good. Or likewise, you might make a really good decision, you're very proud of yourself, and it becomes a massive issue. So you don't know how it's going to turn out. Now, you can't use this as an excuse to just go around sinning and doing bad things. You have a conscience, you know deep down what you should and shouldn't be doing. But as long as you try your best, the opportunities, you might think, oh, I missed that opportunity, or I didn't take this up. But a door has been opened to you that nobody can shut, not even you. So you will end up where you need to be. You've still got to try your best and work hard. But you can't predict the future. You don't know whether this event or this thing is good or bad. So I just thought that was an interesting and valuable sentiment to move forward with. You might have hardship in your life, or you might be celebrating something very positive, but be careful and be grounded because you don't know how that's going to play out. So all the best. See you in the next one. So moving forward into the new year, you may have goals and you should pursue them as best you can, but try not to hold too tightly onto them because you don't know what's best for you, and God might have another plan and it will work out. Although it doesn't look like it's going to plan according to you, it's God's plan.